TOA community. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Wednesdays with Robert. I am coming to you live from beautiful, scenic Las Vegas, Caesars Palace, NSCA National Conference. This is our 2023 NSCA National Conference here. I am a board of directors member, so we've been in board meetings all day yesterday. I love it. It's awesome. But talking accounting and about all the numbers that run the business and all that stuff, it gets a little snoozy, but we got all that out of the way and we've got all the really fun stuff that we get to do for 8 hours today. So that's going to be awesome. Okay, what we're going to talk about today is pickleball. Okay, pickleball is kind of the fastest growing sport, recreational activity in the U.S. right now, maybe beyond the U.S. It's definitely a Northern American sport from what I understand. But what I want to do is I want to take what's called a SWOT analysis look at this, okay? And so just to break this down for you a little bit, what a SWOT analysis is it's an acronym for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, okay? And we've done SWOT analyses before on like the single arm snatch, the kettlebell swing, the hex bar deadlift. Like we'll do analysis on certain lifts, certain activities, etc. like this, just to give it a little bit more of a depth or a focus or a breakdown. Okay, so keeping that in mind, when you look at something like strengths, I grab my notes here. When you look at something like strengths, the list you can kind of put on here, you know, I forget what they're looking at, like massage therapist on this one for the example. What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? You know, 5 years of schooling, you need to continue to do your own marketing as your weakness, blah, blah, blah. And then opportunities, you can take marketing courses, threats, there's other competitors, you know, etc. So kind of gives you a little bit of idea of what we're going to get into. I just want to give you a little breakdown, okay? Okay, so number one thing to look at here, since 2017. Okay, let's talk about what is pickleball. Okay, pickleball is, and nobody, please don't get upset if you're a pickleballer. The way that I'm going to explain this, I mean no disrespect, okay? But it's not tennis, it's not ping pong, it's kind of somewhere in the middle, okay? I don't mean that as a diss. I know people hear that and they're like, ping pong, bro. Think about it, okay? Think about it. You could probably sprinkle a little badminton in there too, though shuttlecock is a hell of a lot more fun to say than ball. Either way, though, we're going to make a lot of pun jokes, I think. Okay. You're in ping pong, you've got a ball that's so light, you can literally smack it as hard as you can, and the ball will go 15 feet, okay? In tennis, if you hit that ball even slightly too hard, that thing's gone to the upper deck. I mean, that thing's so bouncy, okay? So there's got to be something in between, something in the middle, where if you kind of hit it like moderately hard, there's enough air going through it that the air will kind of kill it and drop it a little bit like a wiffle ball, okay? You see people like home run hitters crank a wiffle ball and it goes 100 feet. And that with a baseball baseball would go 300 feet, a tennis ball would go 600 feet, okay? So bouncy. Anyhow, so they pick a ball that has a lot of air going through it. There's big holes in it, right, as it goes through. And then you're playing on kind of a modified tennis court. And then typically, okay, there's one-on-ones, but typically it's 2-on-2. So you're cutting the court down quite a bit, right? So the point of this is to make a game that you don't have to move around too much, like in ping pong, okay? But you get to move more, kind of like in tennis. So it's a betweener. And then you're using a ball that doesn't have a lot of carry, but you can still put some heat onto it and hit it pretty good, put some top spin, put some back spin, make some cut shots, drop shots, etc. You can still do something with it to make it pretty fun, competitive, and skillful. So I think it's awesome. Okay, you have a very unique way to play a game that people will have a cardiovascular response, okay? But it's a social thing as well, and you're going to move in all kinds of different directions. I think it's great, okay? So I'm not digging on it. I'm just trying to give you a little perspective. And I'm a huge ping pong fan, so I'm not dumping on that either. But the way Forrest Gump plays ping pong, that shit, right? That ping pong, different level than, me and Uncle Buck. My point. Okay. Big difference. Big difference. Uh, big difference than what we're talking about here. Okay. Okay. So 2017, you can see how many people were playing, 3.1 million. Now, 2022, 8.9 million people. And that number is only expected to grow bigger and bigger and bigger. You see how many people have participated at some point. I think that first one was how many play on a regular basis or in leagues. The market size as of 2021 was 152 million people. It is the fastest growing, sport by far. They're expecting another 7 to 10% growth there as they go in. And then I found all these cool charts that give you all kinds of breakdowns and global outlook on how the sport is growing. Just astronomical growth on this thing. I think it's pretty cool because you've got a social engagement for sure. There's definitely a lot of people, a lot of my clients that play, and they're like, oh, I love this because there's a social component to it that allows for it allows us to engage with each other. You're not playing a sport where it's so focused, so serious, and constant like basketball or something like that, where you don't really get to socialize. There's still a social component to this for sure, but competitive at the same time, okay? So I think I just gave a lot of the strengths right there for you when we do this SWOT analysis. What I really like about it is you've got an agility, a hand-eye coordination, and a conditioning exercise all kind of built into one. Sprinkle in social, cognitive, and cardiovascular. There's not a lot of negatives to this, in my opinion. So when we go over to the weaknesses, you have to make sure that if you're training people for this, number one, or if you're training for this, that you're training lateral stability, because that's, I think, where the big concern is. Like the first red flag that goes up for me is people are going to get hurt because they're not used to moving side to side. They don't really, and we don't really move side to side hardly ever, okay? I mean, you don't walk laterally, you don't do anything laterally. Think of your body like stuck in planes of glass, okay? If there was a plane of glass that went right down the middle of my body, that's the sagittal plane. If there was one that cut me in half from front to back, that would be the frontal plane. And then you have one that cut me in half like across my belly this way, like a tabletop, that would be the transverse plane. We do almost everything on that sagittal plane, okay? With this, we're now interweaving into this all three, kind of planes. You're getting transverse rotation when you hit. We're getting frontal plane movement, sliding side to side. You get a lot of sagittal, go forward, go back. Okay, working along that. We do so much sagittal work, and typically sagittal forward work, that even backwards, backpedaling, etc., we're going to have people tripping over their own feet, not learning how to lower their center of mass and move in different directions, multi-directional movements, let alone forward, back, stop, left, right, stop. The whole I got to go northeast, I've got to go northwest, I've got to move on these angles, and I've got to move semi-quickly while trying to hand-eye coordinate where this ball is going to bounce, where I have to anticipate, get to it, make contact, get back into position so I'm not out of position. All this happens like that, right? This super quick. So that's why I'm saying there's a lot of great strengths to this because we're doing all these things. But if you're 58 years old, 67 years old, and you haven't done anything other than sit on machines and push forward and pull back and pull down and leg press, which I'm very happy. Don't get me wrong. So happy you were lifting weights because it's the number one thing you can do to improve your health, okay? Decrease mortality, increase your health, increase everything else across the board. We were just talking about this the other day. Oh, my phone's my light. Sorry, I can't bring it up. One of my other affiliate, I'm going to do it real quick. My lighting and everything here is so terrible. I don't even know if it made a big difference. But anyhow, let me show you this. Okay. One of our affiliates said, can you send me the benefits of resistance training, right? And just go ahead and throw it out there. That doesn't include sarcopenia. okay? So we already know sarcopenia is the loss of muscle mass to the point where you lose function and mobilities, okay? I can't do what I used to do. I'm not as fast. My gait, my posture, my strength, my everything, okay? So here we go. Osteoporosis, osteopenia, increases bone density, improves your posture, reduces your fall risk, increases activities of daily living. That's sitting, standing, toileting, transferring, carrying loads, articulating your hands, getting yourself dressed, making your own food, all that stuff, okay? Cognitive improvement, sleep improvement, mood improvement, sex life improvement, cardiovascular health, etc. across the board. That's just the top, 8 things. Sarcopenia, osteopenia. That's just the top 8 things that we look at, and we're like, if we're going to have a discussion with someone on why they should, quote unquote, continue to lift weights or start to lift weights, there's the list, okay? So I'm super happy that you're just lifting weights. If that's how people want to put it, I think it's the best thing you can do for your health. I would probably say stop eating junk food, fast food, and resistance training would probably be the thing, because you can continue to feed your body junk and resistance train, you're probably going to die pretty soon, okay? And again, I'm not, making light of that. I want everybody to live a long time. That's why I'm saying don't do that, okay? So with that in mind, if that's all you're doing, which is good, okay? It's cool, but are you doing anything dynamic? Are you doing anything multiple direction? Are you doing, no. So then you're like, hey, my buddy's in a pickleball league. I used to play tennis back in high school, okay, 4 decades ago. And let's just cinch up the shoes. Let me break out my old Reeboks. I'll pump them up, a little extra pump, right? That's an old joke from the 90s, if you know what I mean. Little Shaquille O'Neal fans out there, the old pumps. Anyhow, you're just going to go out there, roll the dice, and just start smacking away. You're going to get hurt, okay? And I don't want you to get hurt. So what we do with this, when you look at opportunity, the opportunities in this are you get to be social, we get to engage, etc., but you get to move in multiple directions. Now, what happens if you get really good at moving in multiple directions? You're probably not going to fall down. So I think pickleball, in a sense, if you train appropriately, we will be able to improve your fall risk, improve your coordination, your gait, your strength, multiple direction, change of direction, all that. You'll be able to improve all that via this very fun sport. However, you need to start doing some things in the weight room, right, that are going to help you in that. The simplicities of holding weights, step forward like you're on a clock. Step forward to 12 o'clock, come back. To 1 o'clock, come back. To 2 o'clock, come back. To 3, to 4, to 5, to 6. But you stay facing the same direction the whole time. Remember, if you keep moving, you're just always going to 12 o'clock, okay? So you stay facing that way, but you're going to step out at 3 o'clock, come back. Drop back to 5 o'clock, come back. Up to 1 o'clock, come back. So you're learning to step on all these different angles with load in hand. And then if you're taking just gait steps, you're going to learn what it's like to break that much weight, not break it, like slow it down, decelerate that much weight, re-accelerate it, and push it back to where you came from. What does that sound like? I'm going to run up and then come back, okay? So you're making your contacts and returning. That is the most simple variation of this that we could start with load. Then you can start to do something like that that goes into a full lunge. So now you step down into a lunge, push off, all right? Maybe we do this without load and you step out into that lunge and dynamically come back. That means you push really hard and quickly, almost like you were trying to leave the ground or jumping a little bit as you come back, okay? Now these can be done with 70-year-old bodies or with 20-year-old bodies. They simply need to be progressed, okay? Now, I'm not going to go through and do all these progressions. I'm just giving you ideas of how gait stepping around a clock could be a great starting point that would go with load, lighter load, more dynamic, no load, super dynamic, and then there's everything else from ladder drills to shuttle drills to T drills, all these other ones that you can do that will help you move in multiple directions. And the simplicities of a coach standing next to you, okay, or behind you, the client's in front, I'm behind you, and I'm just going to throw a tennis ball up nice and high. Wherever it goes, they've got to track the implement and then run to it and grab it before it bounces twice. Something super simple. You lob it, it's going to hit, and they're like, oh, there it is, and they run, and they grab it, okay, and then they come back. And then the next one, throw it to the left. They run and go get it, okay, and you can just practice this, and you can just lob these things up. And then as they start to get better at that tennis ball, which bounces really high, you could start to use a pickleball and start tossing that up. That way they're tracking the appropriate implement, okay? Just giving you ideas, okay? Just some ideas. So there's opportunities for unique ways to train, multiple direction. Again, big opportunities for cognitive, all the other good stuff that kind of comes with it. Okay, we talked about that. Now, threats. Injury is always going to be number one. Overuse injuries are going to be big, especially around the forearm. Your medial epicondylitis, lateral epicondylitis, which I'm dealing with a big bout of it right now. I wish it was from something cool that I did like that, but no. Carrying a piece of furniture in a very awkward position strained my brachioradialis, and now I've got this stinging, stabbing elbow pain anytime I do anything with my palm down. Super annoying. But it's a classic case of lateral epicondylitis, okay? And the aggravating part of this is these musculatures around the elbow are your pronators and your supinators. So anytime you're grabbing and turning or just getting my water bottle, I grab my water bottle and I go to take a drink and this thing just lights up on me, okay? So the problem with that is with tennis, with ping pong, with pickleball, any type of top spin, undercut shots, anything like that, you're gonna pull on this musculature over and over again. So here's what people go. They're like, well, how much can it hurt? The paddle weighs, a half a pound. The ball is an ounce or whatever. I don't know the weights, right? Whatever it is, they're not heavy, okay? That doesn't matter. Here's the point, okay? It's not acceleration that injures or strains muscles. Rarely will you see a injury occur from someone engaging and swinging their racket or their club. Almost always the injury comes from decelerating after contact, okay? You've created all this momentum, which we talk about and we train for all the time. I want to be able to rip this thing, get a lot of good contact. I want speed, I want power. So we practice all that. We don't practice is once I've created all that power, where's it going to go, okay? I just created 80 pounds worth of torque and rotation to move a 1 pound paddle and hit a 3 ounce ball or whatever it weighs, right? Well, where did all that momentum go? Did I just put 80 pounds of momentum into that ball? That ball would blow apart if I did that, right? No, it's going somewhere. It's a good amount of it went into that ball, but the rest of it is still in me. It's still with me, and I've got to decelerate it and slow it down. So if you don't train for eccentric strength training in all these multiple directions, you're going to get these overuse injuries. And they're going to occur around your trunk, your lower back, your hips, your abdominals, somewhere in there. They're going to occur around your shoulder, okay? You're rotating. Remember, the ball and socket joints are very susceptible to these multiple directions. Great how we can articulate and move them in all these directions, not super stable in all those directions. So you got to train for that. You got to take care of your shoulders. We should be doing no monies. We should be doing pull aparts. We should be doing supinated pull aparts. We should be doing straight arm pull downs, pull overs, okay? Internal, external rotations. As much as I find those boring as shit, they do help a lot with the stability inside the shoulder. The no money, though, is one that everybody should be doing. Mini band around your hands, elbows in tight, like you're holding a towel under your armpit, and you're like, I got no money. I got no money. I got no money. You just keep doing that abduction, squeeze, pull apart, external rotation of the hand, supinated grip as high as you can. Great rotator cuff stabilizer and strength through range of motion, mobility. It's a small range, but it's a good one, okay? So keep all that in mind as you go through this. If you are working with a trainer, make sure that you are encouraging and asking them, hey, I play pickleball. I want to make sure I'm doing some multiple direction stuff, that I'm doing eccentric training, that I am doing torque production. I am creating and doing exercises that create torque. That means moving load in a rotational movement pattern or some type of angular attack where I have to accelerate it and then decelerate it at some point. And we should be doing that, on a regular basis, weekly, okay? All right, switching gears. I hope you enjoyed that. Pickleballers out there. Fancy ping pongers. Just kidding. I have played pickleball a bit. I didn't get to do it was like a 2-week lesson plan that we went through. I loved it. It's super fun. And I love ping pong. I love tennis. I taught tennis in college. All of these are all, racket sports. When you look at that with golf, okay, everything cycles back to what we do to throw something, okay, discus, hammer, whatever you do to throw something, that production of torque, it's pretty much the same mechanical advantages and attacks as when you're trying to swing something, a baseball bat, a golf club, or a racket, okay? So we all kind of speak the same language in love. And instead of me throwing something for distance, you're trying to hit something for distance or speed or accuracy, etc. It all is producing, power, torque production through the hips. So anyhow, I love talking about that kind of stuff. I hope you enjoyed that. All right, I have a new video up on YouTube. It's the one right before this one on sit-to-stands. And are they going to tell you when you're going to die? So technically, no, they're not going to tell you, but they are going to give you an idea of, is your mortality risk high or low? Unfortunately, this is fairly accurate, okay? There is a very good study out there, the 2012 study, European Journal of Preventing Cardiology, there we go. 51 to 80-year-olds, they assessed and studied all these folks, and basically the ones that had, pretty low sit-to-stands in 30 seconds, they had very high mortality rates. And vice versa. If you performed a lot of sit-to-stands in 30 seconds, you had a lower mortality rate. So though, like this lady says here, but the test isn't a true predictor of mortality, it does give you it's a pretty good indicator of if you're not doing good on sit-to-stands, you're probably not going to live very long, okay? And I want you to keep that in mind when you watch the video. Is the idea, the mindset behind this is, how do we implement this 30-second test? We do that with people, but how do we build it up and progress it up? And I've said this, a couple of times now. I always say, I say this hundreds of times. I've probably said it 15 times in webinars and in other videos. The secret to my dad's success, okay, was consistency, number one. Great programming, number two. But number three was his daily obsession with the sit-to-stand. He knew when he came and did sit-to-stands with me, we did 4 sets of 10 in one workout over 45 minutes. We did other stuff too. But those ones, more than anything, he was like, man, it just burns my legs. I really feel this working more than anything else. And because he had that response, he goes, I'm going to practice this more because I don't want it to burn that much. So on a daily basis, anytime he'd get up, I'm going to go to the bathroom, he'd sit down and get up 3 times. He'd go to the bathroom and he'd come back and he'd sit down and get up 3 times, and then he'd sit and watch his show and he'd go, I'm going to go make a sandwich. Up and down 3 times. Make the sandwich, come back, sit down 3 times. Then that became 5 times. Then he started doing it 7 to 10 times. And so he would do 100, if not more, sit-to-stands every day just by breaking it up a little bit. But that constant practice and engagement, right, that he did on a regular basis made it to the point where it wasn't that bad. So we did the 30-second test. He crushed that. I mean, he did, I think, 16. His minimum score was 11, and he did 16 or 17. So that's significant. So we were like, okay, that's great. Would I look at him and now go, hey, your mortality rate's way down? No, I knew the other health concerns that were going on there. So what did we do next? Our big test is a 150 sit-to-stand, okay? Definitely wasn't ready for that. So we just did the 50. I'm going to time you and see how long it takes you to do 50 sit-to-stands, okay? So he did that in 6 minutes, something like that. And the next time I tested him, he did it in 3 minutes, almost cut it in half, okay? And then there's this great video, I'm sure some of you have seen it. There's this great video of my dad at my in-laws on Easter, and he's doing sit-to-stands to a couch that's 6 inches below parallel. And he's cranking out and he does, 50 of them or something like that. And he stands up and he flexes, and it's the most proud video. So anyhow, check out that sit-to-stand. I talk about all of this, all the progressions, what we do with people, what you should be doing to kind of build up their strengths, etc. Tomorrow, Thursday, that'll be Thursday, July, 13th. I will be doing a panel with SCW, Active Agers Secret to Successful Training. This is a free one. You just got to pop on their thing there and sign up. You can see the website there on the side, scwfit.com/live streams. So if you want to join us, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 Eastern, that's tomorrow. We'd love to have you, okay? We'll be talking about active aging. This is a very cool article from the Cosgroves, Rachel and Alan Cosgrove. Big shout out to Craig Rasmussen, their programmer. I think they said he's been there 17 years or something like that, working with them. Craig is headed to Idaho. Craig spoke at a couple of our events in the past when I was hosting regional events for the NSCA. Great speaker, great dude, power lifter, programmer, fantastic coach. I wish you all the best, my man. If you're watching this or anyone in your circle is watching this, please let him know. I love that guy. He's a great dude. He and his wife are off to Idaho to go start their own thing there. And I think that's awesome. I hope to follow you someday to Tahoe or to Idaho or somewhere where we're going to get up into the mountains even further. So congratulations, bud. All right, this comes from the Cosgroves, Alan and Rachel. This is an article about how to avoid burnout as a personal trainer. So they go through in this email and they talk about it a bit, but what I thought was pretty appropriate is this kind of goes for anybody. You could say like, hey, here are strategies for avoiding burnout. Setting your schedule and sticking to it. They talk all the time about learn to say no. You don't have to say yes to every opportunity. And now all the things that you do where you have these open windows of time that you're supposed to be recovering or eating or working out yourself, if you constantly fill those, right, then you're losing all the things that are allowing you recovery time and a step away from your business and or focus on yourself like you will if you are, working out or building your nutrition or doing whatever it is that you're doing. You need to have those set scheduled times. Like in my schedule books, okay, show you my one here. In my schedule books, I've got these hard blocks with arrows where it's like, where are you guys? Where they're arrows and it's like you just can't, beyond this time slot, it's done. I've got it marked off. I'm like, I'm not writing anything else in there. That's the whole idea. This is a block, it's set. I'm not scheduling people. I'm not doing any calls. I'm not doing any like we're done. So you got to learn to say no. You got to learn to block those things off. That's a good one. Take at least one day completely off a week to reboot. Saturdays, Sundays. I used to work on Sundays. Sunday was my most popular day. Like let's see, 2008, I was getting my master's. I was working at Jamie's and the country club. Okay. So Monday through Friday at the country club, Jamie's on Sunday, and I had 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., at least 4. I had 10 to 12 hours of 3 to 4 clients every single hour. I mean, I trained like 40 something people, right, in these small groups on Sundays, crushed it. It was such a successful day that I dropped off Fridays and I trained like 6, 7, 8 a.m. on Friday, and that was it. The rest of the day I could take off. So eventually I got to a point where it was like, we were doing enough family events and things that me working Sundays was kind of becoming a problem. And I was getting promoted at the country club. And so doing that, I was going to have to step away from this other position anyhow. Independent working, I was going full time for the country club as a director. And in doing that, I was like, man, I'm going to lose all these folks on Sunday. Well, to my surprise, the majority of them came over to the country club and I was able to keep working with them on Sundays. Eventually, we dispersed that out throughout the rest of the week. And I would take Fridays I think I added a few more hours back at that time, but I want to say like 11 on Friday, and I was off Friday afternoon, full Saturday, full Sunday, back to work, Monday morning. And this worked out really well. Basically working 4.5 days, a week and keeping all the people I had. You've got to go through these progressions. My point is early in your career, you're working 6 days a week, maybe even more. Maybe you're working 7, and you got a couple like, well, I have half my day off on Saturday. That's fine in the beginning. I remember thinking like, why do people need vacations? Like, why is this so hard to just sit here and crank out work every day? I love this. I love doing this. I love being here with people. Why is this an issue? And I remember going like, I don't see why people have to take time off. And then as soon as I got promoted up to a director and had responsibilities and I had to deal with all these other folks and all the problems that were coming in, I had to, deal with customers. And I'm like, I need some time away from this place. Now you start to, oh boy, okay, things have changed now. When it wasn't just me and my schedule, right, my little world, when that starts to open up, you start to go, wow, I do need some time away from this. This is getting obsessive. And then we sprinkle kids in there, right? After we get married and start having kids, now a whole different ballgame. I got to be home, got to have these times. I knew that I didn't want to be like a non-engaged dad. So I wanted to at least be home every day from 3 o'clock on. So we started moving the schedules, just to give you a recap of like why we're doing all this and why this is important, over a career, working 7 days a week, 6 days a week to 4.5 days. But then I started moving everything up so I could be done at like 2 o'clock every day and get home by 3. And then once we opened our own gym, I left the country club, opened our own gym, 2016. I said, I'm not working with clients beyond noon now. And then from noon until 2, I can do my office stuff and be home and ready to go. And then once we, through COVID and now that the gym is at home, Basically, I'm done every day between 2 and 3 o'clock, and from 3 until 7, I'm there with the kids, with Keeg, with my, with my family, whatever we're doing, and I've got the freedom to kind of move things around. Now, I started in 99, and this is 2023. So we're talking about 25 years, okay, to build a schedule where I'm like, I can build this however I want to. It's not something you can do in year 3. My point in drawing that whole thing out is showing you the progressions. How many days, all the obsessive hours, they start to change, they start to compartmentalize, you start to see different priorities. It's important to have that time off, but when you're giving yourself to your clients and focusing on that time with them, be 100% committed, involved, focused on them. And that is the beauty of how much you love your job, your career choice, but you also love your family. And you're having you time that should be sprinkled in there as well. And then plan a vacation, okay? You need time away. This right now for me is time away from my family, which is good. I do need that time, okay, because I'm there constantly, right? But I'm recharging my batteries on education and excitement for how we train and what we do. And I'm around like-minded people, and that's kind of the idea is you got to get out and do those things. Go on vacations and trips, but also reinvest in you and get more education, more energy, more excitement for what you're doing. I'm going 30 minutes here, sorry. This is all, I think really valuable things to do to make sure you're staying, up to date, staying motivated with what you do as a profession, but also recharge your batteries. And then one more little shout out here, Nick Tuminello, one of my favorite trainers. Nick put out an article this week on 3 fitness personalities and how to coach them. And so this was just a little clip about the 3 different types, the depth that he goes into. Go over to nicktuminello.com and you can check out, he's got his new emails up, his articles up every week. You can click on there and go into a little bit more detail than what I'm providing you here on how to train different personality types. But I think it's a great article. I love all of his content he puts out. So pickleballers, have a great time. Enjoy good training, good health, multiple directions, preventive injuries, stay strong. And my sit to standers out there, keep working, keep practicing, do that as often as can. That's kind of the foundation other than general locomotion, just walking around. The sit to stand is probably the most functional lift that you're gonna do. So get damn good at those and do them often. All right, everybody, much love to you all. I hope you're all doing great. Have a great day. We will look for you in the next one. I'll see you again next Wednesday. Please subscribe, ring the bell, make sure you don't miss any of our content we put out. Share with friends and family members, help us grow our community. We appreciate it. And until next time, please continue to fight your good fight against sarcopenia. Peace.